Hey, are you worried that your breast milk isn't providing enough nutrients for your baby? In this video, I'm going to show you 8 easy ways to make your breast milk more fatty. Alright, so hey guys, I'm Lacey Reason. I am your lactation counselor here at earlymotherhoodguide.com. And today we're going to go into all the easiest ways to make fattier breast milk. So let's first talk about why is that so important? Why do babies need high fat in their breast milk? So the reason why is your baby's going to triple their birth weight and grow nearly 10 inches just by their first birthday, which is incredible. And so these high calories help them and nourish them through all that growth. But not only that, it actually helps with their development of their brain and their eyes and their nervous system. So it is incredibly important for them to have that fat in your milk. So what actually causes fattier breast milk in the first place? So if you're nursing a newborn, you're going to be nursing all of the time. And so you're actually going to have a much higher fat content in your newborn as opposed to a toddler. And a toddler is only going to be nursing for a few minutes at a time here and there. Whereas when you have that newborn, they're going to be nursing around the clock. So that will make a difference of the age and the duration of and how often you are going for nursing sessions, but it's also something like the fullness of your breast. So the longer you go, the more full your breast will be with breast milk, and that will actually thin the content of your breast milk. So you will have much more what's called fore milk and less hind milk, which is the fattier content of your breast milk. So how do you even know if you need your breast milk to be fattier? So one thing is if your baby's not gaining enough weight, but your baby is also nursing as much as they should be, right? So it would be a problem if it won't be the fat content if you're stretching the nursing sessions too far and they're not nursing enough. But if you are doing every 3 hours, every 2 to 3 hours, and you're nursing on demand, then the baby's still not gaining weight, and they're probably getting more fore milk than they are getting hind milk. And then if your baby's actually losing weight, so that will be an issue, and you would need to have much more calories and much higher fat in your milk. And it's obviously normal for your baby to lose some of their birth weight after they're born, but you want to ensure that they are growing after that and they do gain it back. So now I did talk about fore milk and hind milk. So what is that? So fore milk is the stuff that comes before the hind milk, and that fore milk is going to be much waterier, so it's going to have like a very thinner consistency, and it's going to be a lot lighter in color. And so when you are having your letdown and it's going much faster, when you're pumping or when you're nursing, that is higher water content in milk. And so you're going to have that in a lot more if you're going a further time in between nursing sessions, or also in the morning. You have more fore milk than you do hind milk. The hind milk is the one that has all of those high calories and high fat nutrients. And so if you're pumping, you will see when it separates in the fridge. If you're setting a bottle of pumped milk in the fridge, you will see it start to separate. And so that fatty layer on the top is going to be the hind milk, and it's going to have like much thicker, creamier consistency. It can also be a little bit more yellow in color, and so that is where the hind milk is. And so that actually is stored all the way in the back of the breast, so in the milk ducts, and so that will be released at the end of the nursing session after all the fore milk has already been released. It's not one and then immediately switches to another. It will slowly transition into hind milk, but the longer that nursing session is, or that pumping session, the more hind milk you will see in there. So how can you make your breast milk fattier? So I had this question when I had my first baby. I have 3 babies. I've nursed all of them, and I did notice when my babies got older that the fat content has gotten thinner and thinner. And so I asked somebody about this, and they're like, I have no idea. So I did do a bit of research for myself and a lot of trial and error on my part. And so one thing you want to do is nurse more frequently. So the more often you are nursing, the more quicker. So the quicker you will get to that fat content, that hind milk. And so just make sure to not be spacing those nursing sessions too far apart, or those pumping sessions. So the longer that the breast has the rest, the longer, the more full they're going to get, and the more honey or fore-milk is going to be produced. So you want to make sure, just to keep on that, set a timer on your phone or your watch to remind yourself, okay, it's been this many hours and I need to nurse my baby or pump again, whether they're asleep or your exclusive pumper or whatever you need. You can also incorporate more healthy fats. So you can do a lot more nuts and nut butters and seeds, or any kind of healthy fat that you prefer, and that will help have a higher content. Another great thing is eating more protein. So when you are breastfeeding, it is recommended to have a higher protein diet, and it does help you produce more breast milk. So that will help. I like to have a lot of those. Again, the nuts and seeds personally, because now I'm getting the fats and the protein in there at once, and so that's always a great snack. Or in your smoothies, I add nut butters to it, and so adding that stuff in, I have noticed a difference in my fat content. Another thing that you would like to do is you're going to switch sides on each nursing session. So some mamas like to only nurse on one side, or certain babies like to nurse just on one side and they are content, but then that's only leaving your other side to go even longer from a nursing session. So let's say at noon you nurse your baby only on the right side and they are content, and then 3 hours later at 3 o'clock you're going to nurse them on the left side. Well, that means that you haven't nursed on that left side for 6 hours, and that's a really long time for that left side. And then you're going to have 6 hours on your right side, because you had at noon on your right side, at 3 on your left side, and then at 6 on your right side again. So that's 6 whole hours for your breast to rest and fill up with more fore-milk. So make sure to always be emptying on both sides, and that'll help keep draining your breast so that you can create more milk. It'll have a higher demand, but then you'll also have less time to be building up that fore-milk. Then also consider what time of day you're trying to nurse and have more fatty milk. So like I said earlier in the video, in the evenings you are going to have a higher fat content in your milk. So when in the morning you're going to have more abundant supply. You're going to have, if you're pumping, you will notice that you'll probably be able to pump a lot more ounces. But in the evening, you're not going to, and you'll notice your babies when they're nursing, that's called cluster feeding, and they want to nurse all the time. They're not getting as much milk in the evening, but you are getting a higher fat content in the evening, which is very helpful because it actually does fill their bellies with that higher fat milk, and it also keeps them content longer, so they have that one nice good stretch of sleep in the evening, which is very helpful. So try journaling this. You'll recognize these patterns that you're seeing if you're journaling. If you're pumping exclusively, maybe you're pumping on one side while you're nursing the other, but just notice, saying like, I have noticed that when I nurse at 9 a.m. they are hungry sooner, or if I've noticed when I nurse them at 6 p.m. they're hungrier more often. And so just logging those and being aware and seeing those patterns, you will see maybe when the time that you need to work on that more. Maybe you need to have a little more snacks, having that high protein, high fat snack in the evening or in the morning to help you produce more milk, and drinking more water, of course. So another tip is adding an extra pumping session. So it will help drain your breast milk out so that you will build more breast milk in, so you'll have a higher supply, but you'll also have less time in between each feedings of not being empty, or being emptying out more often, which means that you will have more hind milk and less time for that fore milk to build up. So there's another thing that you can do if you're really focused on having your baby have more of the foremilk or the behind milk, and you're not wanting to have them so much of the foremilk. You can also separate the breast milk. So if you're pumping and bottle feeding, the first couple minutes when you have that letdown, you will set aside that first bottle that you just pumped, and then once it starts to slow down, that's going to start transferring into more of that hind milk. And so when you are doing that, you can have just feed your baby that part of the bottle, right? So you can pump the whole thing and then separate them by pouring, or you can use two separate bottles. So you can just say, okay, here's only the formilk. I wouldn't suggest feeding your baby just the formilk, because that actually can cause upset tummies, and again, it's very low in calories. It's still absolutely necessary. It is great for them, but you don't want to have it completely off balance, where if they're only getting that formilk, it can cause some tummy upsets, and then nobody sleeps at night and you have an upset baby. So you can do it multiple ways. Also, if you're exclusively nursing, then you can just pump for a few minutes. I absolutely love the Haka for this. Haka is a manual silicone pump, and so you can just suck it on. It's like a suction cup, so you just squeeze the bulb and put it on, and it'll catch that letdown, which is all that formilk, and then you can, and that will be really helpful too if you have a forceful letdown with your newborn. And so then after you have that letdown in the Haka, then you can now attach your baby, latch them on, and they can nurse for the rest of the session. You don't have to discard that formilk. There's many uses for it. So if you want to save it, you can use it if your baby has any, you can use them for scrapes and all kinds of stuff. But also I really love using it for making, you can make breast milk lotion for them. So if they have any rashes or if their skin is a little dry, you can make breast milk soap. So you can use it for their bath time, or you can even make breast milk jewelry. So if you want to have a little keepsake like that, earrings, rings, and necklaces, you can always use it for that. So there's plenty of things you can do with breast milk, even if you are not feeding it directly to your baby. There's so many options. So separating it is also an idea that could be helpful. And then one more thing is going to be using breast compressions. So it is helpful to get the breast milk moving and flowing through your body. So it helps. Sometimes your hind milk will stay back a little bit, and so if you're using your hands to compress and help move it out through, it will really help getting the breast milk flowing, and it'll help it move through. So you can use that while, like before you are nursing, you can use hot compress and then using your hands to gently move it out to loosen up your breast milk, especially if your breasts are really engorged. That will be really helpful. I love doing this for newborns. So if your newborn is really sleepy, doing those breast compress and like manually expressing will really help, because they might need a little extra help if they're just falling asleep or they're getting a little tired from all that hard work. That's really helpful. You can also do it while you're pumping. That's also really helpful. And there's also great breast massagers that you can add, and that will help move things going. My last thing is sunflower lecithin. I absolutely love this. There are mixed results, not a whole lot of science on this, but I can say from experience that this has helped me so much. So if you have clogged milk ducts and mastitis, I have used this to clear myself up multiple times, and it has worked like a charm. It will thin out the breast milk, but that allows the fattier breast milk to move out forward. So if you have a clogged milk duct, it will help move it forward. So that is incredibly helpful. I can link some studies below on it. So it says that it may help release more of that fat content, that hind milk, but there is no guarantee. But I have noticed personally a huge difference in this myself, and it has been a complete lifesaver. So those are my 8 tips. I would love to hear what are some tips for you guys. What has worked well for you and really upped your fat content in your breast milk, and love to share with the mamas out here that are watching this. And also, what resonated with you? What are you feeling to try? Is there anything here that you heard today? You're like, okay, yeah, that I can easily do that, and I'm going to give that a shot right this second. So definitely let me know in the comments below, and I look forward to talking to you guys